Are you messing with poor Michael Berryman?
I don't know. Oh my God.
It's on now.
It's on now. Thank you for that lovely introduction.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Nice hat, by the way.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So real quick, before we even get started, didn't you say that after your panel, you've got something going on at your booth?
Actually, we got a donation for Champagne Critters. Next to my table is our dear friends from Champagne Critters, which is Animals Rescue and Sanctuary in Ocala, about 15 minutes from here. But thank you for remembering. That's good.
Okay, I wanted to make sure that was taken care of.
It was well taken care of. I just want to say thank you all for coming out. Have you all had a great weekend? Absolutely. Thank you for our wonderful sponsors, Spookala. I had no idea what to expect, and you know what? The show's just been tremendous. What a wonderful experience. Let's do a hand for our sponsors and the people that put this wonderful show together.
So was that you that we saw crowd surfing last night at Ice Nine Kills? No, just kidding. You weren't the crowd surfing. No, we're just playing with you. So you've got a pretty long career that has spanned generations. Let's talk about the things that you feel like you're most known for and why you think those are such iconic roles. What are the favorite roles that you've had that you think have really put you on the map as an actor?
Well, my second day at work was at a mental hospital. I got a phone call from my agent, and he said, "You're going to do One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest." I said, "Really?" I said, who's going to be in it? And they go, "Well, it's being produced by Michael Douglas, Saul Zaentz, Joel Douglas, and there's a guy by the name of Jack Nicholson that's going to play McMurphy." And I said, "You're kidding me." He said, "No." So I wound up going to Salem, Oregon, to Oregon State Hospital. It was a real hospital. We had a whole floor to ourselves. The doctor in the movie was the real main doctor in charge of the state hospital, Dr. Dean Brooks. And I was there for 127 days. And you got to understand, this was my second job, second day as an actor, and I'd never been an actor before in my life. I had started with a guy by the name of George Powell. He did War of the Worlds, Journey to the Center of the Earth, The Time Machine. I met him in Venice Beach. I was getting ready to homestead in Alaska, and he came up to me at this little store I was in, and he says, "Are you an actor?" And he did this, framing my face. And I go, I'm just messing with him. I go, "No, I'm not an actor. Who are you?" And he says, "I'm George Powell." And I go, "Do you know who you are? You did what?" And he patted me on the shoulder and he says, "Here's my card. Call my office. I want to put you in a movie." And I go, "Warner Brothers." So I worked one day on a movie called Doc Savage, based on the pulp novels. And I worked a day, got a union card from the Screen Actors Guild, $400, and I figured that was it. But they had a casting director that was casting for Cuckoo's Nest, so that's how I went up getting that. So it is my favorite film for the following reasons. I learned my craft. They had Michael Douglas and everybody had handpicked people for the crew. Good Lord, the people that did our sound recording were from the original Mutiny on the Bounty. So on my days off, on a 12, 13-hour day, 6 days a week, I asked a lot of questions, like a 13-year-old could. "Mommy, Daddy, what is this?" And what did I say? What did they say? Why? And I learned stuff. I remember I asked Milos Forman, I said, our director, I said, "What do I need to know to work in this industry?" And he walked me, he's puffing on his pipe, and he walks me over to the camera. It's a Panavision, beautiful big camera. And he says, "I want you to see the camera and look at the lens." I said, "Okay." I'm waiting for this pearl of wisdom, and here's what he says. "I want you to have a love affair with the glass." I wasn't quite sure what he meant, but I think he was pointing to the lens. And then he handed me a book on cinematography. So if any of you are thinking of becoming an actor, stage work is different than film. You'll do a master shot, you come in for close-ups, and for instance, if I'm filming you, they're going to do a reverse, where it's my perspective And you know what? That could be a day separated. So you start to realize you need a memory and you need to take notes. And it's not go to the hotel and fall down and party. It's not that, it's work. And you want to do the best rendition of what the writer has in their heart. So the bottom line, we tell stories. So that was my initiation. It was like going to film school.
Going to film school on your second day, huh?
Yes, sir.
So I'm sure that helped to propel you to what is, to most people, what your most known role is, and that's Pluto from The Hills Have Eyes.
That was movie number 3.
Movie number 3, wow. So I'm sure that most people that are in this room, that's probably where you know him from. So let's talk about this role. What was it like being on The Hills Have Eyes, being cast in that role, being the mutant guy in that movie? What was it like being in that movie?
Well, I got a call to go to a meeting, and there was Peter Locke, our executive producer, and then I met this very calm, quiet, tall guy by the name of Wes Craven. And we had a conversation. He says, modern-day cannibal family living in the desert, but he used to be a college professor, Wes Craven was, and what he was trying to display in the film is the parallel stories between two families. We called them the white bread family, or you guys, and then there was the Hills/cannibal family, us. And the similarities where we cared about one another, for instance, when Mercury with the feathers gets pushed off the cliff by the dog, the bionic dog, by the way, that was Mercury. And when Papa Jupe hears that he got killed, what happened? Oh my gosh! So it's about the ethics of these two families. Family is family. Now, what you choose to do, well, we're just trying to survive. There's no 7-Eleven where we are. And I remember the line when we steal the baby, and we were at a movie theater, and there was this mother in the audience. She's sitting in front of me, and I'm dressed like Pluto. And Papa Jupiter says, "Kill the baby." And the mother stands up and says, "This movie is sick and depraved." And she tries to grab her son, who's probably 13 years old, like, I don't want you to watch the rest of this movie. And I tap her on the shoulder and I go, "You're damn right, lady, this movie is depraved." And she looks at me as Pluto and she screams and she runs out to the lobby, and I go to her son, I go, "Watch the rest of the movie, it's cool, I'll go chill your mom out." So I go into the lobby, and she's walking this way, and I'm following her, turns around. We're just doing back and forth, and she goes, "This movie really bothers me. Why do you make movies like this? It really makes me sick." And I go, "What's your name?" "Here, have a cup of coffee. Sit down. I'm just a regular guy. This is what I do for a living. We tell stories." But it's okay. We have to do things that get you bothered, and you get upset, and you have turmoil inside, and just about the point you don't think you can handle it anymore, you have a challenge for the white bread family. In other words, to be a good villain, it creates a stronger hero. And that's kind of what happened. There's some funny moments in the movie when Mars gets hit in the head by the rock. That's a great rock hit. Thunk. We got to work with the bionic dog, the German Shepherd, which was wonderful. And okay, we had no budget. We're shooting in Super 16 film stock. We needed a rattlesnake to be in our movie. Now, I don't know if any of you have been in California and you know where Los Angeles is, and the high desert, Mojave Desert, is where we filmed it. And it's a pretty desolate place. There's good people, and then there's people like, there was actually a ranch where Jim Jones stayed at a compound. I used to go out in the desert at night and hang out at seedy bars and just really creepy places because I wasn't famous, nobody knew who I was. And I had a hobby, and to this day, this is one of my hobbies, keeping mothers and children not dead, safe. Keeping animals safe and not abused. Keeping animals from being kidnapped and being fed gunpowder from evil people that dogfight them. Well, I'm talking about criminals and really, really bad people. So I would just go to these seedy, horrible bars you would never go to, and I would observe study people's characters, take mental notes. I had a lot of friends in law enforcement, and sometimes bad people got dealt with. So our company came in one night and they said, "Hey, we need a rattlesnake. Anybody got a rattlesnake?" And this guy goes, "Oh, I got one." "Oh, okay." So he brings a rattlesnake to the set. And I go, "Where'd you get the snake?" "Oh, it's my pet." "It's your pet?" Yeah. And I go, "Well, okay." He didn't take monofilament line to keep its mouth from being open so it could bite somebody. He would put it in a chest and put ice in there so it'd be slow and lethargic. The only problem with that is it was 100 degrees every day, and the snake thawed out one day and got loose during lunch. I'm sitting down eating the sandwich, and I'm looking, I see people jumping up like catapults, getting out of the way. And my Pluto brain says, "You should get out of the way now." And then I see this snake. And the girl that played Ruby, my sister, actually went up to this rattlesnake, picked it up, and went to hand it to Wes Craven, and Wes fell over in a dead faint. And then the guy is having lunch who owns the snake, and he goes, "Oh my God!" And he comes running up, and he gets the snake, he puts it back in its little cage, and I go, "Dude, that's a Mojave green." He goes, "Don't tell anybody." Now, a Mojave green is neurotoxin and muscle toxin. It's like a two-step snake. You're dead. We had some situations that were risky, like when the mother gets shot and she falls back into the couch by the table in the trailer. Anybody remember that scene? Okay. She had a squib, which is like an explosive device that goes boom and a little blood comes out, and it has a little leather pad that it's attached to, and it was on a strap across her chest, but when she fell back into the seat, the strap lifted up a little bit, and when it went boom, it blew her nipple off. So she went to the hospital. Luckily, we had all her scenes and she was wrapped. That's not a joke. I mean, so there's a scene where I take the hatchet and I chop through the divider, ran a splinter right through my hand. And then the reason I'm telling you all this is because it was so endearing, because I got to become good friends with Wes Craven and work on Deadly Blessings with Sharon Stone and some other things. But the funniest story I'm going to wrap up Hills with is this. You got to understand, I'm not a household name. I have an agent. I'm trying to get more work. I'm trying to do this for a living. And when my boss calls and he says, "Hey, we're showing a movie at a drive-in in Los Angeles. Would you like to come out and see the movie with the public?" I go, "Sure. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do?" "Well, we're going to dress you up like Pluto." "Oh, okay." I have all the Pluto stuff on. We're in a van. We pull into the drive-in. The movie's playing. And about halfway through, Peter Locke and Wes Craven say, "Hey, Michael, we have a really great idea." Yeah, what? Go around and bang on car windows and scare people." Oh, okay, great idea. Now, the knife I have in the movie is part of a sheep shearer. It's metal. It's a deadly weapon. They gave me the rubber knife. So, you see where this is going? The scariest part of the movie, I'm banging on car windows going, "Ah, Pluto!" And they're going, "Oh!" And I'm going, "Hey, this is kind of fun. Oh, I'm scaring people." And then I banged on this one car window. And this girl goes, "Ah!" And then the door opened, and this huge, tall guy gets out of the car with a baseball bat. And here's what he says. "You scared my girlfriend, you SOB. I'm going to," this is a quote, "I'm going to smash your brains into the dirt with this baseball bat." I was dumbfounded. I couldn't think of anything smart-ass to say. I go, what do I do? I used to be a long-distance runner in college and high school, so I said, I think I better start running. I can outlast him, and this guy's gaining on me, and I'm going, son of a gun. Well, I have a knife. Yeah, rubber knife, big deal. So I start yelling out to this dark area where there's cars parked, and I'm going, "Wes, Peter, Wes." I don't know where the van is. And the guy's gaining on me, so I'm running a little faster. Pretty soon I see headlights, and this van pulls out. It's our van. The side door slides open, and Wes Craven is holding onto the seat, and he puts his arm out, and he goes, "Grab my hand, now!" And he pulls me into the van, and as we're closing the door, the guy's, flipping us the bird and yelling and screaming like Homer Simpson. And we don't say a word. We leave, we drive down Ventura Boulevard, we go to a diner, we sit down, we get our menus, nobody said a word. I go, hey Wes, Peter, what just happened? And Wes goes, I think we have a hit. That really happened.
That would have been great if it would have been like, yeah, we planted that guy and we planted that guy and his girlfriend. We're pranking you. All right, so does anybody have any questions? And you guys know this is the last panel of the day. If you guys have not been to one of my panels so far, you know I want you guys asking them early and often so we can get you the information you want. All right, back here in the third row, what's your question? Make sure you say it really loud so he can hear you.
I can't hear.
I got it. So what do you think the biggest impact? Okay, so she said the 50th anniversary for the movie is going to be coming up soon. What do you think the biggest impact on horror has been since its inception between then and now?
Well, number one, there's a gentleman by the name of Tom Savini, a very dear friend, and he does, for Tom Savini, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, practical effects. Tom is the best. He's the master. His daughter is a total trip because down in the basement where he would teach special effects makeup, he has all kinds of monsters and outfits, and his daughter's friends just loved coming over and checking all that out. Well, the effect of from the time the Hills started going forward, it was before CGI and other special effects. We were in the realm of mostly practical, where things really happen in front of you, because special effects, post-production, it can get real expensive. But I think what the Hills Have Eyes carved into the space of time going forward and making films and art in that manner is that you have to have a good story. Like, if the bad guys aren't bad enough and you kill them off, it's like, who cares? If the heroes don't have a real good challenge, they're not much of a hero. So we kind of raise the bar. I think it comes down to honesty of number one, have a good story, 3 arcs. Try to have well-defined characters so you can kind of identify with them and say, well, this person will only do. They'll go this far. This is their limitations. And then the heroes, a lot of times, they meet a challenge that they don't think that they can accept. And that's called, in screenwriting and storytelling, it's called Dark Night of the Soul, where you think all hope is gone. There is no hope for success. So it just as in real life, we have a situation and we have to come to grips with the reality of the situation. That's a great premise. The other way to go is to just have a monster that goes boo. So the Hills had that type of 3-arc classic writing. And so I really think that, see, Hills was not a splatter film. Number one, we didn't have the budget. But so you depend on character development and a good story that your audience can relate to. And when you have a good scary movie when you come home from watching the movie, it was only a movie. You go to bed, you tuck the kids in, and you leave a light on in the hallway. That's when you know you've done a good job.
Excellent. I love it. Any more questions right now before we move on? Front row, what you got? Did you enjoy working with Rob Zombie in Devil's Rejects?
Yes, I did. And I'll tell you why. Well, he had really good craft service. That's our snack bar. And so whenever you're working with people, you want to feed them. An army runs on his belly. Well, so does a film company. I didn't know in the beginning, I didn't know anything about Rob Zombie, didn't know about his music or anything about him. Rob Zombie, okay. And he was prepared. Everybody knew what they were supposed to do. He had a good sensibility, story and what he wanted. He was very concise when he was giving us direction. So we knew what to give him. Now, I will say this. If you're going to do a scene and you're going to do dialogue that is not written down in the script, you get something that happens when you go buy chickens with Ken Foree. And the gentleman that's selling us the chickens, he's a stand-up Southern hillbilly comedian, and he just ad-libbed the whole thing. And I'm standing next to my friend Ken Foree, and he's looking at me like, this guy's going off script, and he's really building the Cleavon character into something that was not even in the script. So I'm going, wow, he's defining my character, and I'm looking out of the corner of my eye, and Rob is at the monitor, and he's like, and I go, okay, he's the boss. So when he finally shut up, I had no choice but to do, I ain't no chicken, blah, 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 blah. But it worked, and people always, they go, hey man, are you a chicken? And I go, there's kids in the room. And I go, no, I'm nice to chickens. Until it's time to wring their neck.
All right, any more questions out here before we move forward?
I'll start asking you questions.
Uh-oh.
All right. You were just picking your nose. That's okay. See, I grew up on the Universal creature features, watching Elvira, and before that, there was, I think, Seymour, and black and white TV. Okay. My sister and I had babysitters when we were young, and my parents would go out to have dinner. The woman that would house sit, keep an eye on us, would watch TV with us. This was back in the day when television was black and white and sometimes kind of green and gray. Regardless, we would watch scary movies. So she would watch scary movies with us. And she wasn't a real big fan of them, but she was chilling with them. So one night, she was watching a scary movie, might have been Frankenstein or something like that, and she fell asleep. So I turned all the lights off in the entire house. My sister went and got, yes, she's smiling, gets better. My sister got a bowl of ice cubes, got her hands super, super cold, got behind the lady, and then I was right by the TV. There was no remote, so you have to push the on-off button. And when my sister goes like this, the lady goes, ah! And I hit the TV, turn it off, and it goes boom, to a pin drop. And she's yelling and screaming, and I turned the lights on, and we're going, ha, 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 wasn't that funny? And she didn't think it was funny. What do you think happened next? Yeah. Uh-oh. She goes, I'm going to tell your parents. I had not thought that through. So we're begging her, please don't, and she did. So, but before my parents came home, my sister and I went and got every wooden coat hanger in the closet that we could find, and we hid them, because back in those days, we would get a whipping sometimes, across the bum, and we figured we were safe. So after the lady left, we got a spanking, and there was no wooden coat hangers. Guess what? Wire coat hangers hurt more. Yeah. So I asked my parents years later, how much more did you have to pay her to come back?
You got a question?
So you're a kid. What are you going to do?
All right, what you got? What's your follow-up? Okay, first question. What is your favorite horror movie, period?
All right. I'll say horror movie and then tongue-in-cheek horror movie.
Sure.
My favorite tongue-in-cheek horror movie has to be Evil Dead. Now, for a horror movie, the Daily News. That's why we make horror movies. So, you're raising a family, you're living life, you watch the news. I watch stand-up comedy, YouTube and Netflix and stuff like that. But for a horror movie, I would say I like all the Universal classics, of course. Probably, I like sci-fi, and I like sci-fi horror. So my favorite horror movie would probably be, well, I like the original Night of the Living Dead. It's probably one of my favorites.
All right, so we're going to shift gears here a little bit, because I told you before the panel started that he's a part of my favorite movie of all time, Favorite movie of all time is Weird Science. So, for those of you that have not seen Weird Science, it actually is the first movie, or one of the very first movies that had Robert Downey Jr. in it as well.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a, John Hughes romantic comedy, sci-fi comedy, and there's a spot where the main characters just don't want to do what this created woman who plays Kelly LeBrock wants them to do. They're not acting like heroes. So she creates a scenario at this party where the mutant biker gang from Mad Max and from Hills Have Eyes basically crash through. Here comes this man appearing in the middle of Weird Science. So tell us about the experience on Weird Science. Weird Science does not get a lot of love as one of the best John Hughes movies. To me, it's the top. I know that there's other ones that have bigger names, but what was your experience like working with those actors that nowadays have got really big names on that set when they were only teenagers?
Well, I sensed right away early on during production that Robert was going to take off. He had a charisma, he has a sensibility. Parenthood, I saw him in that. Brilliant movie, great performance. This guy's going to go places. Everybody was delightful to work with. Robert was profoundly proficient at expressing his creativity. And John Hughes just had that sensibility, kind of like Red Skelton did. It's like my grandmother used to say, be childlike, not childish. So John Hughes had the same philosophies. So did Robert. So John wanted to have a story that would embrace young teenage, that phase of your life. And he depicted it very, very, very well. So we all understood the sensibility of the where we were going to take it, very honestly. So when they're in production, I was on the set during my days off because some of the stunts were incredible. For instance, when the piano player winds up getting up the chimney, well, that was in a sound stage, and she actually went from like 40 feet up and dropped without rigging into that pond. So she was quite the stunt woman. When the rocket gets pushed, the missile gets pushed up through the floor. That was on a hydraulic ram, and they pre-cut with a saw and glued all the pieces together. So I was right there by the camera. It actually got shoved all the way through to the roof. When it rained books, it really rained books, no CGI. And then my very, very dear friend Bill Paxton. He was so delightful. When we first had a chance to have a conversation, I said to Bill, Bill, you're my favorite whiner. And he goes, Michael, what do you mean? What do you mean? I go, well, in True Lies, and Tom Arnold says, hey, get out of here, dumb shit. Okay. And when you go to try to sell the Corvette to Arnold and you're talking smack about his wife and he slaps you, he goes, yeah, but I wasn't whining. I said, I'm getting there. Aliens, game over, man. And a few others. He was delightful, and just so honest in his performance, so easygoing. And we work really long hours. We work 12, 14 hours. So you become family when we need everybody to be on board. So the sensibility of that age of childhood being depicted from the perspective, honestly, of the kids, like when they went to the bar and they got drunk and they're talking smack, it still didn't make them heroes. So we arrived, and my dear friend Vernon Wells, we put him to the ringer, and the dialogue was ridiculous. What's a couple of blah, 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 blah doing with a gal like this? And then, Kelly goes, I have an idea. Because when Hilly, when Vernon's got her and he's got the gun, the boys have to, all of a sudden the squirt gun turns into a real gun, and Vernon takes a shotgun and he leaves. I figured when I go to exit, I need something clever to do. So John Hughes comes up to me and he says, we're getting the camera set up for the exit scene. Vernon, is angry, he leaves, he's dejected, he's been conquered. And what if you had an alter ego in real life? I says, so we talked about it. I said, well, what if he was a school teacher to these kids? And he goes, brilliant. So please don't tell anybody about this. I don't want to lose my teaching job. And then, I take the motorcycle, and as I'm pushing the bike across the camera, you don't want to cut and then cut back into it if you're moving, because it'll shudder. So especially if you're delivering dialogue. I learned enough from doing Cuckoo's Nest and other things to where I go, I'm going to be sneaky and do what I want to do, and it has to be in the final edit cut unless they reshoot the scene. And that's what I did. I said, I don't want to lose my teaching job. And I go, God bless. Now, I said God bless for a reason. There was a TV show called The Red Skelton Show back in the day. I went to grammar school with Red Skelton children. Richard Skelton had terminal leukemia, and about in grade 6, Red realized that he didn't have long to live. So he wanted to take him and his daughter and wife on a trip around the world so their son could see the world before he became bedridden and passed on. So he went to the studio, and Red said, I'm going to take a hiatus. I'm not going to work for about 6 months. I'm spending time with my son. And the studio said, well, you can't do that. We won't have any content. We'll sue you for breach of contract. And he says, you go right ahead. And then I'll tell everybody how wonderful you were. They came back to a meeting. They go, hey, we want to sponsor you now. And he goes, TWA's already done that. Now, at the end of Red Skelton's show, he used to say, I want to thank our sponsors, our viewing audience, and thank you for allowing us to be your family's entertainment this evening. Good night for now. God bless. And so I did that as a shout out, as a being aware of what a wonderful gentleman Red Skelton was. And that's why I did that little shout out, and God bless. And when he said cut, he kept it print, and we didn't redo the scene. He appreciated it, and John goes, well done. So every once in a while you get a wink and a nod to someone or a situation that made a difference in your life. And that's one of the blessed things about working in our industry. I met Paul Newman when I was doing The Crow with Brandon Lee. He was doing Hudsucker Proxy. We were in North Carolina. And Paul and I had a conversation, and he explained to me about his charity, which is part of the Bogey Creek Gang, which is General Schwarzkopf, Arnold Palmer, and Paul Newman. And what they do with the Paul Newman products, by the way, is to raise money for facial cranial reconstruction for children that have birth defects about the neck. I kind of know all about that. And he invited me to Florida, to the Bogey Creek Gang, which is down south. Anyway, what they do is they find children with parents with children that have special needs, and they invite them to a camp in St. Petersburg, Florida, with little houses for them to live in. They even have people house sit at their homes so the entire family can be with them in St. Petersburg at Bogey Creek, so they can meet surgeons that will reconstruct their children's faces and skulls to give them a better quality of life, and it's all paid for by that organization. So, you know, people say, what's it like to be famous and all that? I says, it's nice, but what really matters is the fact that you can meet wonderful, wonderful people. Everybody has a story. Every single one of you has a story. Every single one of you could make a movie out of your life. I know that there are moments in your life that would be incredible on screen. So when I do these shows, and I've been doing them for 30 plus years, I'm with family. You are all family. Why? Not just because we like scary movies or this or that. It's because we have a sensibility about you. There's something about you that is different than going to a sports convention. Hey, you hit a lot of home runs. That kicks ass. But what do you do? What motivates you? What's that spark? What makes you want to get up when you're tired and take care of business? I mean, you're a parent, you're tired, you're raising children, you hope they love you later. Bottom line is, everybody has a situation. So what are you going to do about it? You're going to make a difference, a little difference. You never know what that little random act of kindness can do to somebody who you'll never meet again. You have that exchange. You have that intersection of you met this person, and you don't judge them. Don't judge them. Just What's going on? How's your day? Something as simple as that. And I ask that question a lot when I'm convincing with people at the table, and I appreciate being able to pay my mortgage and all that good stuff. But I like to hear from you, and I do, and you share, and you tell me things that just blow my mind. I met people that have had incredible costumes on, and you wonder, I wonder what they do in a day-to-day 9-to-5 job. I met a guy today who's a research biologist. I've met people that have worn outfits that you go, oh, that's creepy, and they're firemen, sheriffs. I met a guy that works at a prison. I did a movie in Wheeling, West Virginia, at the prison where they had the riots and they killed all the guards but one. I met the son of that particular gentleman, and he told the story. The reason that his father lived is because he did his job, but he treated them with respect. But he had to watch all the carnage. I went, wow. So what is the lesson? The lesson is we're all in this together. And I love working with youth. I used to do drug and alcohol awareness programs through my friends in the Optimist Club. And I would do 5th and 6th grades. Now in 5th and 6th grade, you don't want a grown up to tell you to do squat, right? That's okay. I was the same way. So I go to this classroom, and there's parents in there that are volunteering, and they want to see how the education's going. And it was about the time when they said, just say no. That's not enough. You got to be more honest to your kids. Don't bullshit them. So my friends, and one of them was a retired Marine, the other one was Chief of Police for Dade County, Florida, Richard Kroom, who, by the way, for all you older folks, he's the guy that booked Jim Morrison the night of the Miami incident, which was BS. It was his hand. Most intelligent guy I ever booked. His father was an admiral, you know. Yes, I know. So I go to this classroom, and the kids are bored. They go, here's some old guy's going to yap at us, but we don't have to do lessons for an hour. So I go, hi, kids. I'm here. You're not doing lessons for an hour. I'm going to yap at you, and you got to listen to what I have to say, because that's just the way it is. But you know what? I'm going to tell you some things that you might or maybe not want to hear. But they're telling you drugs are bad. I'm going to tell you, what if drugs are good? Well, I got the attention of every single kid. And he says, I'm going to write the name down of some drugs that I want you to use and do every day. Now, the moms are just getting totally flipped out. And my friend, ex-chief police, he's going, just wait. So I start writing words on the chalkboard. I says, you pull out your science book, and the first one that tells me what these are, I'll give you an autographed picture or a cookie or whatever. So here's what I write down. Adrenaline, endorphin, serotonin. And the kids are going, oh, thank you for not, giving us a bunch of BS. Yeah, I've heard about those. Well, what are they? Blah, 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 blah. That's right. And you know what? It costs you no money. You might have to exercise to get the effect of this or that. Your body makes them. They're good for you. It won't cost you any money. Nobody's going to hurt you because you didn't pay your drug bill. Oh, you know who the biggest drug pushers are? Pharmaceutical companies. It used to be illegal to advertise pharmaceutical patent medicines on TV. And somebody gave somebody a bunch of money, they changed the laws and the rules, and now what do you see every day? Take this. We're obligated to tell you that it might give you explosive diarrhea. Thanks. Yeah, I really want to take that. You go to your doctor, what do? They have a prescription. No, I want real medicine. I'm just one of those kind of instigators. So, how do you have a healthy lifestyle? Wonder Bread helps build bodies 12 ways. There was a lawsuit that made them not have to say that because they fed lab rats white Wonder Bread and they died. They starved to death. So what youth wants is for us just to be honest with them. Just be honest with them. When I was a kid, there was a wonderful movie by Joe Dante called Matinee. Anybody seen it? It's a wonderful film. Okay, kids in school, duck and cover and the nuclear bomb won't hurt you. And this little girl says, it's BS. Here's what happens. Your body melts, your skin falls off, you're going to die, it won't help you a bit. They're lying to you, or they're just not giving you all the right information. And she had to go to the principal's office for that. Well, I grew up, yeah, right. In school, they said the same thing. Well, my father was at Nagasaki. They weren't telling it straight. No BS, tell it straight, because the kids can handle it. They can. So there's going to come a time when you want them to reach out to you and say, hey, I've got a query, I have a question, I have a situation. If you're a parent, you want that phone call. You don't want that, come help me in emergency, this or that happened. No, you want them to be self-assured. And how do you do that? Straight up, no BS, tell them the truth. You don't have to give them all the grisly details. They have an imagination. So my point is, we tell stories. Some of them are just pure entertainment. Some make you laugh. Now, Brett Butler is a stand-up comedian. She has a very famous interview where she says, what is it that you do? I tell stories. I'm going to tell you something that makes you laugh. Then I'm going to tell you something that makes you think. And then I'm going to give you something to help the medicine go down. So when you're laughing, it frees up all of that wonderful energy. I'm going to give you a little bit of wisdom from my Nana, my grandmother. Okay. Ladies, this is a beauty secret. You don't want wrinkles? Then I want you to be lazy. What I mean is, I only want you to use 3 muscles to smile. You know how many muscles it takes to frown? 27. It's not a fix-all, it's an open door so you can investigate alternative choices. We're so overwhelmed with the internet, and I have my memoir. I'm trying to get my book published, and the bean counters that are going to look at the 12-chapter summaries want to know how many people I have on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, blah, 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 who's following me, blah, 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 blah. I'm going, really? Okay, if that's what it takes, I'll do the best I can. But what about the story? You see, everybody has a story. So you have to defend your story. You defend your life. You believe in who you are. If you're not sure, eventually you will find out who you are. If you let other people manipulate you, take advantage of you, it's probably because you're making decisions based on fear. Well, we tell fearful stories. Why? To give you a challenge so you can rise up to a situation. You go, I think I could do that. I could handle that. Why are they a hero? Because all hope is lost. Dark night of the soul. I don't know what to do. And they manage to pull it through. That is what we do. Whether it's a comedy or scary or challenging. So it's all good.
I don't know about you guys, but that was some serious knowledge that was just thrown away right there. I love it. And I will tell you this also. First, let's give him a big round of applause for all that. So like I told you, when I saw him on the schedule, my first thought was, can we keep this between us? I don't want this to affect my teaching job. And you said it in there, that's why I was just like, yes, that was my fangirl moment right there. I loved it.
I'm going to tell you a goofy story. There were times in my life when I did silly things. I think I was about 15 years old, maybe 16, with my brother, and we lived in Santa Monica, California, next to Brentwood Country Mart, which is where all the actors were. A lot of people wound up going there, and there was a 31 Flavors. Now, some of you grown-ups, you might know what hashish is. Okay. And I'm actually an advocate for cannabis used in the right manner, because the more people die of alcohol and cigarettes that are, quote, legal. And thank God we've come around to realize that not all those pills that they push on TV and stuff are good for you. It's a no-brainer. Do your homework. Okay. My brother and I, we had a little puff. We got the munchies. So what did we do? We were responsible. We walked 5 blocks to the ice cream store. It was at night. There was only one person in the store, about 9 o'clock at night, and it was Rod Serling, the creator of the Twilight Zone. Out on the San Vicente Boulevard was a Lincoln Continental with his driver. And I look at my brother and I go, that's Rod Serling. He goes, what do we do? I want to talk to him. I go, I don't know. So my brother goes, doo 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 doo. And he goes, oh crap, here, keep the change. And he runs out. I go, that didn't go too well, Greg. So we follow him out to the car and we go, Mr. Serling, stop. We were just being silly. We're kind of excited and overwhelmed, and you're a hero of ours, and we just want to thank you. And he goes, He smoked cigarettes till it killed him. Don't smoke cigarettes. And just don't vape. Bad for you. Anyway, he goes, thank me for what? Now, my dad was a brain surgeon, and I'm still overwhelmed. I'm a little stoned, and here's what I said. Brilliantly, I say, your brain. He goes, oh, crap. And he tries to leave, and I go, no, I want to tell you something. He goes, take a breath. Take a moment, kid. Take a moment. What are you trying to say? You tell good stories, I swear to God, just like that. And he goes, which one? 20 minutes later, we're sharing. The first story was, well, the henpecked husband that liked to read books, and the wife said, oh, honey, read a book to me. I know you love that. And she had scribbled on all the pages. A mean thing to do. Anyway, then there was a nuclear war, and he survived. He took his breaks at the bank, in the vault. He survived. He goes around town. He says, well, I can live off the canned goods. But then, and he found a library. I got all these books to read. And then he drops his glasses and steps on them. But I figured eventually he would find another pair of glasses, you see. And he said, well, that's a great story, because there's always a message in a Rod Serling story. So we thanked him for sharing with us. And then he goes, I want you to check out my new show called The Night Gallery. I just got through taping. That's why I have the makeup on. Yeah, I wanted some ice cream too. And I told my brother, I go, maybe he had a little hit too. Anyway, he gets in the car. We thank him. He says goodbye. And he's driving away. Now picture this. It's dark at night, fog. Two red taillights driving in the fog. They dissolve. The car vanishes. There's no cars anywhere else. I'm standing in front of the fluorescent lights of the Baskin-Robbins ice cream store with my ice cream, and I look at my brother and I go, now. So you take advantage of those moments, learn, have fun, be lazy, smile, laugh.
I love it. I could sit here and listen to this guy for hours. Unfortunately, we got the costume contest coming up in 10 minutes.
All right.
Since this is the final guest of the entire convention, 2022, I want to make sure you guys give him the loudest applause you can, the loudest of the weekend, for the one and only
Love you.
Michael
Thank
Berryman.
you.